Konbanwa! Ladies and gentlemen, come one, come all to the Shogun's tent, the show in which those that build and improve the culture are put on a pedestal, while those that destroy and pervert are put to the sword. This is the September 30th edition of the Shogun's tent, and I am, of course, the bane of the woke, the harbinger of inheritance, the mad Shogun, RealAaronAlexander. And as usual, I have one of my retainers here in attendance. First, that being the man who owns the only bar and grill in town which forbids Lions games because otherwise everyone has to wear a bag on their head. We're talking about the Snowman. How are you doing tonight? Hold on a second.
Sir, finally got out of the sinuses that was affecting me.
Yeah. So unfortunately Justine can't, as far as I know, can't make it tonight because she got laryngitis. Hope I try to send her a message, see if she's in, but hopefully we get more people joining in, and but tonight we're doing a little bit of a change of pace here. We're not going to do our usual show format. We're going to make this sort of an end of the month tradition here on the tent. So tonight's going to be more of a chill out stream, which we discuss a lot of old school shit or anything that's going on, etc. And tonight, we've agreed that tonight will be about the first entries of the Final Fantasy series back before it got popular in 1997 with Final Fantasy VII. And since then, it's been a non-stop of weebs basically cosplaying and I mean, jeez, how many fucking cloud cosplays you've been seeing in the past 25 years? Jesus.
Because I don't go to cons.
Well, I used to, and there was plenty of those characters, especially now with the remakes, the Final Fantasy VII remake. It come out in parts. I don't know why they do it, but of course there's always the excuse, but it's such a big game. Oh, shut the fuck up. Remind me when you're finished so I can buy the whole fucking game.
By the way, the secret word for all you people to tell us you can hear us is Chocobo.
Yes.
Please type down Chocobo so we know you can hear us.
Okay. But I think we should start this off with how we got into the series and our stories on how we got into the series. So I'll start off with mine, and hopefully I'm hoping some people will join in because I'm interested in hearing some other stories here. But I'll go ahead and share my story with y'all. Hold on, let me get my drink on here. Yeah. Okay, my story starts back in around 1993. I think I haven't turned. I think it was. It's got to be either late '92 or early 1993.
Aaron, I don't think they're hearing us.
Are you sure? Hold on.
I don't see you typing down Chocobo.
3.
Aaron, I don't think they're hearing us.
Are you sure? Hold on.
Typing down Chocobo.
Well, no one's typing Chocobo, but I'm checking the feed on our shit. I'm hearing us just fine.
Okay, he hears us.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's just not many people on the stream. You have 2 to 3 people.
Sorry to disrupt you, Aaron. I thought people were not hearing us, so
well,
that's why I toss in the secret words, people, so we know you can hear us.
Oh boy. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying here. So story starts back in around 1990, late 92, early 93, and how I got into it was, well, it was sort of out of curiosity, because there's there was a guy that's friends with my cousins. I mean, they still talk to each other to this day, even though I don't know what the status is right now because one of my cousins 20 years ago tragically died, and the other one,
I'm sorry.
yeah, and the other one, well, he moved to Tampa, and just a few months ago actually with his wife, but back in the day, they had this friend I think they went to school with. Yeah, it's like a big chubby guy. I'm not gonna say his name on stream, but let's call him Rick, okay? But he was cool. He was a cool guy. But back in the day, every once in a while he came over. He had some Super NES games, right? And one of the first games he brought was actually Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4: Turtles in Time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the first times I've seen the guy. That was around late '92. Now one of the games he brought over one time was Final Fantasy IV. It was known as 2 back in the day, of course, because
yeah, of course.
Because we'll explain that later, but he brought over Final Fantasy IV, and I want you to keep in mind that the Final Fantasy IV we got, let's just say the scripting was shit. The dialogue was crap because according to
Final Fantasy IV had the worst adaptation.
Oh yeah, the one that we got originally. I mean, yeah, we got better fucking in dialogue ports a lot later on, you know.
The Game Boy Advance version pretty much kills the Super Nintendo version, except for music.
Oh yeah, now yeah, and I don't know how the
that's solely due to the limitations on handhelds.
Yeah, now I don't know how the pixel remasters are gonna go. I haven't played them yet, but I've been hearing some good things. But getting back to my story
I was
here,
kind of hoping for the pixel remasters to be more like the GBA versions.
Oh,
because they had some high quality pixel art.
Oh yeah, but anyway, getting back to my story here. So out of curiosity, I decided to pop it in and try it out. I mean, and besides, I was like I was such a noob at this game until Billy decided to kick my little ass back downstairs because I got too curious about his shit. But that curiosity ultimately translated to a few months later asking my mother for the game, and sure enough, I got it. And when I first played the game, I was like, oh god, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, to be honest with you. You know, I didn't know the whole concept of grinding, and I was running away from a lot of fucking battles.
These sound like my similar experiences.
Yeah, it got to the point where I got stuck in the fucking Giant of Babil, and I couldn't beat the fucking Archfiends. Then I realized, why the fuck can I beat these Archfiends? I've been going by the seat of my pants the whole fucking time, and then I realized you have to fucking level grind, you idiot.
Yep. So
I started over, and I did just that, and all of a sudden, when I got to the subterranean, the lunar subterranea, the final dungeon, I was fucking OP as a motherfucker.
You should.
Yeah, and after a couple tries, I finally took out Zeramus, but and that was before 93 finished out. You know, I think I first beat it just about a month or two before I went to summer camp that year. So
Yeah.
But since then, it would be a long time before I played another one other than fucking 4, which was I think the second Final Fantasy game I ever played. It was 6, and it is my favorite. But I only rented that. I never owned that. But I did own the first game on Nintendo.
Similar to your experiences, I too discovered Final Fantasy through my cousin. Actually,
Really?
I discovered Final Fantasy long before that. I think I still have the Nintendo Power Guide with me.
Oh.
Of Final Fantasy 1. When I got it, I was just a little kid who didn't even know how to read yet. So, I didn't know what it was. So I didn't have the chance to play it. Because it came free when I subscribed to Nintendo Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a dumb kid, there was pretty cool pictures. I could see levels.
Well, that's pretty much everyone's experience when it came to Nintendo Power. Nintendo Power was such a great fucking publication when they first came out in the 90s. Well, in late 80s actually, but it was more of an early 90s type deal, you know. But classic Nintendo Power,
especially with the Mario comics.
Yeah, and you got like
all the comics.
Yeah, you got like strategy guides and shit, you know. And Nintendo Power was at its heyday around, I would say, late 80s, early 90s when they first came out. Then, of course, I mean, it's out of any gaming magazine, it's still in my opinion, stayed mostly true to their source material. But I think around the end, and I think that's when they decided to give up on it. Probably because they started falling victim to the ads and shit, you know, like every other gaming rag has. But like I said,
they shut down around GameCube and Game Boy Advance time, right?
Yeah, they did. Mostly I think they felt the magazine served its purpose, and they probably didn't want to end up like fucking Game Informer or any other IGN trash that they could come out with. And besides, magazines were such a dying breed at the time.
Because I unsubscribed with them like a long time ago.
Because it was going through the internet, so.
Yeah, it couldn't compete against game FAQs.
Oh yeah, Game Facts. Game Facts pretty much knocked out all these magazines out of the box. That's why you see a lot of that, because back in the day, it's not just Nintendo Power, but
information versus information you had to pay for.
Yeah, because back in the day, you not only had Nintendo Power, you had like EGM, you had Game Pro, and the reason most people buy that shit was they want to get the tips, they want to get the cheats for the game, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there were game reviews there, but like I said, this was back when game review it was so cool. It's like because I think there was quite a few shows, video game shows, review shows like Game Pro TV. The atmosphere was like, oh, this game's so cool. This when
I know.
Video game journalists.
Let's get back to my story.
Getting back to your story here. We're getting off the rails here.
Okay. Which, Final Fantasy 1 was the first one I discovered about the Final Fantasy series.
Mm-hmm.
But the first Final Fantasy game that I really got to play was Final Fantasy 4, which I visit my aunt, my uncle, who's married to my aunt,
mm-hmm.
so uncle-in-law, and my cousin, who I'll name Tiffany. Not her actual name, but I'll go with Tiffany.
Okay.
You see how this is similar to your story because you went to your cousin's house and you found Final Fantasy IV, and I went to my
Well,
cousin's house and I found Final Fantasy IV.
my
The only
cousin.
difference is she actually let me borrow the game,
Well, my
so
cousin
she
and
was
I
pretty
were.
cool.
Well, my cousin and I were living under the same roof at the time, but
Ah,
yeah. So yeah, what you need to know about Chicago two flats is they're basically two houses stacked together. It's not like an apartment building or something. It's like you have the first floor, then you have the second floor, which is basically two different freaking houses, basically. Here,
yeah, mine was a bit of a driving distance to
yeah,
get to my cousin's house.
yeah. Let me show you. Let me show you the. Let's see if they got the Chicago two flat here, because I'm sure they have a picture of it. Now,
Yeah, please show the stream. Like I'm
yeah,
watching this stream through the my 50-inch plus TV.
yeah.
Girl.
I'm trying to find a good picture of. Okay, this is a good one. This is a this is a good one. It's a three flat, but I'll give you'll get this you'll get the same you'll get the general idea. Hold on, let me move let me try to get let me move, open a new window and I'll share it with you all in a second. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. You see that? This is this is a two flat. This is Chicago two flat.
If the pictures show up on the TV screen.
Oh,
I see it now.
hold on a second. I gotta hold on. This isn't the right one here because I want to show you the other one here. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Now this is a three flat, but you get the general idea of how housing in Chicago worked. We lived in a two flat, I think in the suburb of Cicero, which is like the town around like right. That's like one of the first suburbs you cross as you leave Chicago going west.
So would a two flat be like 2 stories?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And that's where we're
I was
living.
just asking because I was born and raised in the suburbs.
Yeah, that's where that's where we were living in. That's where we were living in. The back in the early to mid '90s. And unfortunately, and if you're wondering, yeah, that they tore down that house a long time ago. It was about a
Oh,
few.
man.
It's about a few years after we moved out. But then what happened was she sold her two flat to some fucking some jagoffs. They ruined it to the point where they couldn't even fix it, so they tore it down.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sucked. It's still to this day it's still a fucking empty lot.
So I'm looking at this picture that you're presenting right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't mind living there. That looks nice.
Yeah, but like I said, yeah, these are but a lot of these they were pretty trashy. So, but anyway,
Oh. So it doesn't look as nice as the picture right now.
no, it doesn't look as nice. I mean, there's a couple nice two flats, but like I said, getting off the rails here. So getting back to your story here. I think you left off at you had to drive to your cousin's house to play this game. You were at your aunt and uncle's or some shit.
Well, yeah, because occasionally my aunt and my other aunt likes to have conversations and talk.
Mm-hmm.
So we constantly visit my aunt Carolina. I'm not using her real name.
Okay.
So we visit Carolina. And I go downstairs because that's where Tiffany plays her Super Nintendo games because she was actually a pretty big gamer at her time.
Oh, nice. Shit. Yes.
She's like
And-
10 years older than me, but she had a nice set of RPGs. She had Earthbound, Final Fantasy 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
She had Super Punch Out.
So she had an
I don't
impressive.
remember the others.
So she had an impressive collection, and that's a big. And back then, that was a big investment because you knew how much games were back in the day. Jesus,
There were no standard prices back then.
yeah, it was like 50. Like, I mean, yeah, it's like what? But it was 60 to 70 bucks. But, well, here's the problem. It was 60 to 70 bucks in early 1990s dollars, which is a lot of money.
It was fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not endorsing piracy. But I'm just gonna say I don't feel bad for the companies either.
Yes, yeah. These days you sail the high seas, but back then, yeah, really, they really had to earn their money.
They made hand over fist with their games.
Yeah, but like I said, yeah, and back then you had very
They still charge you money to play those old games. Is an insult.
yeah, especially if emulation exists. And the thing is about emulation is you can still emulate those games if you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Nintendo and a lot of the game companies crack down on that on the emulation sites, but you know what? There are very dark corners of the web that people still go. They just go to. Shit, they still torture.
Ain't even that dark.
They're not even that dark. They just fly under the radar. But like I said,
It's like back in my high school, there was a kid who could burn CDs.
mm-hmm.
So I'd give him money to burn CDs. Only this time around, I just simply go to the place and just look at the selection, but don't download anything.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, but I would say you could check out the pixel remasters, etc. But like I said, emulation, I still think it's the way to go, especially if you don't got a lot of money if you don't got a lot of fuck you money nowadays, especially since a lot of people.
Especially if you're from China.
Yeah, and also a lot of people are going to be out of a job soon because of all the certain bullshit going on. But so I think
heavy political stuff we will not mention in this chat.
Yeah,
I mean in this server.
Yeah, not
in the stream because those are the rules.
Yeah, and not only that, YouTube is already
here.
Yeah, and YouTube's already burying us anyhow. So I got a feeling we even mentioned it, we'll probably be yeeted out of here. But I'm gonna talk about a remedy about that at the end of tonight's stream. But so getting back on the rails, I say this next one, I say we're gonna go game by game here. So obviously we're gonna start off with the first Final Fantasy game. Hold on, here's what I'm gonna do. But, oh god damn it. You know what, hold on, I got a better idea. Yeah, I'm gonna try to find an image discussing the first Final Fantasy. Ah, here we go. I think this will work. Okay, so I say at this point, we're gonna start off with the obvious, and that being the first Final Fantasy game. Now, this is the North American box art that came out in 1990.
Oh yeah.
Now, the thing here is this game did not come out. Was not made in 1990. It was ported here into the States then. This came out originally in 1987, just about a year after Dragon Quest.
The reason why they call it Final Fantasy is because it was Square Enix's final game. If this game flopped, the company would have shut down for good.
Yeah, so this was sort of a boomer. This was sort of boomer bust.
This was their Hail Mary pass.
And miraculous.
And this game gave them touchdown, and then it gave them the 2 points afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, this was sort of the make or break title for them, because up until then, Square they had like a moderate hit in Rad Racer, but a lot of their games weren't doing too well.
I think they went for that 3D Famicom crap, and
yeah,
know the running man was running towards this. I mean, not towards the screen, but away from the screen.
Yeah.
And he's got those huge ass pits he got to jump over.
Yeah.
They made those.
Yeah, the problem was, it's also a testament that a lot of the gimmicks in the early days of video gaming, most of them tend to flop. I mean, granted, it was an experimental phase at the time, but
yeah, they had to do something because video games in America were actually, they crashed.
Yeah, funny enough, a lot of the same companies that was churning out shovelware back then happen to be the same companies. That are still in existence today. Activision. I don't know how they survived.
Yeah, they haven't learned shit at all. And I'm going to enjoy that second crash.
Yeah, the Western gaming industry is turning into dog shit, but that's beside the point.
And my only question is, who's going to be the new Nintendo? Because if someone's going to make a console, it's going to be like, holy shit, gaming's back.
Well, here's the thing.
And they're actually decent.
Well, here's the thing. There's already a new Nintendo. The same fucking company. They were the American side eats cringe right now because of how the West is right now, but in the Japan side it's still the same as it ever was.
Nintendo needs to get rid of the American branches, and they need to get rid of the European branches too.
Yeah, but anyway, getting back on point here. Yeah, Square was churning out a lot of near shovelware before they came up with Final Fantasy. And like I said, my experience with this thing was, I'm going to be honest with you, this game was fucking hard. I mean, the original
game was dope.
Yeah, it was the original one. The original one, the game was fucking hard. I mean,
Final Fantasy VI is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
But Final Fantasy II is my second favorite, simply because of one thing.
What?
You can completely customize your party.
We'll get to that. But we'll get to 2 in a bit. But we're going to talk about the first one here.
No, I'm talking about first one, as in you get to pick who goes in your party.
Oh, okay. You mentioned 2. It's like, what the hell? Anyway, but
I didn't mean to mention 2. I didn't mean that. I meant the second favorite is Final Fantasy 1 because you could pick who goes in your party.
Yeah,
you get 6 classes to choose from.
Yeah, and it basically the first game was basically worked like sort of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Basically,
it was D&D. It was the purest form of D&D, and that's what made it so great. The mixture of sci-fi technology, fantasy magic, and just sheer D&D stats. Well, not D&D stats, but D&D-ness enough. I mean, fuck, the game had mind flayers and beholders.
Yeah, like I said, the first one, the first one I think is sort of like, it felt like it did feel like D&D the video game. I mean, if TSR designed this game, I wouldn't be surprised. But they didn't. So
it was trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically Final Fantasy 1, just with the Final Fantasy 10 aesthetics.
Yeah.
Because as much as that game has flaws,
yeah,
aka Titus.
Yeah.
As much as that flaw exists, you gotta admit two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, Final Fantasy 10 looked real damn good with all its tropical environments.
Mm-hmm.
And weird ass aesthetics. The island culture of it was like beautiful.
Oh, definitely. I like the scenery, but of course, the only thing I didn't like about that was this is when the series started to get a little too linear, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, you could explore, but it felt like you're Final Fantasy X felt like you're on the rails. But anyway, getting back to that, because we're not talking about the later games here.
Number 2 is basically the second reason why I like Final Fantasy X.
Hmm?
Lulu and Shiva.
Oh,
The women were hot in that game.
Oh, definitely. Probably would trigger Billie Eilish at that point.
Now back to Final Fantasy 1.
Well, before that... Shut up, Titus!
Oh, you're going to find a pic with Lulu? Do it. Do it.
Shut up, Titus! Fucking laughing. Anyway, getting back to this game. Here's the story. It was pretty simple, but until you get to the end, though, and to this day, I still don't fucking understand the whole time loop deal.
I think I can understand it. I think when they killed off the Black Knight,
Garland.
I know I was gonna say your names. Since you killed him in that room and he was close by to that crystal orb, I think it may have absorbed his soul back into that time.
Mm-hmm.
Back to like 1,000 years.
2,000 years,
Since
actually.
all the chaos shit was going on.
And by the way, you don't have to worry about spoilers. It's been 30 years. It's been over 30 years, I should say.
Yes. I wasn't worried about spoilers, but I was just saying, due to all the crazy chaos shit that was going on 1,000 years ago in that game,
yeah, it's actually
and he was at the center of it all, he may absorb all that energy and became the final boss that he is.
Yeah, so basically he absorbed
you literally go back in time to stop the chain. And then the very final boss you gotta defeat happens to be the very first boss you had to defeat.
Yeah, so basically I think the fact that you killed Garland pretty much fucked it up at first, I guess, because so I think what happened was the energy's transported him back 2,000 years into the past, and he sends the four fiends to fuck everything up in the future.
Yeah.
And they basically send Garland back forward in time. They
didn't send Garland back forward in time.
Well,
he was drawing energy back into the past. You remember back at the Sky Castle? AKA the space station? And you saw that floor that was a window that you see on the planet?
Yeah. And there was
through that, you see the planet, and you see all the areas that were the dungeons of the elemental four fiend bosses.
Yeah, and
they show you all the energy being pulled towards the Chaos Temple.
Yeah. So I think what happened is they sent him back, and he sent them forward, basically repeating the same fucking pattern. So until Garland got wasted in the past, this shit will still continue on. It's basically like Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah, it was all fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very convoluted. I think Sakaguchi-san at the top. I think when Sakaguchi-san and them trying to figure out the story to the game, I got a feeling they were breaking out the mirror Jehovah.
I think what they're doing is mixing weird technology with, well, fantasy.
I mean, that's what you do with D&D, but still. But to come up with something like that to this day...
Dragons 2 in the early days, they were like having Greyhawk King get like a soda machine and hook it up to his castle. Yeah. Because apparently the wizard can actually teleport him to Earth so he could get stuff from Earth.
Yeah. But still, it felt like whoever came with the story, yeah, they were knee deep in the good shit that day. But
I noticed that the art depiction in the Final Fantasy guide, the airship was not made of wood.
Oh yeah.
It was like some weird aircraft. The guy was actually holding the float stone near it to make it float.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find a picture of that one.
Well, I'm sure we can find. Let's see here, because I don't know. Cause I'm trying to find the FF1 because a lot of the official artwork it's basically a wooden ship. They basically have a boat with fucking propellers at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I was talking about the actual Final Fantasy player's guide, and it was like the chapter 4, I think. I think it was chapter 1.
Was it one of the Nintendo powered guys?
Princess and getting the boat. Chapter 2 was the elves. Chapter 3 was the earth elements. Chapter 4 was the fire element and the ice cave and the airship. But they really wanted to show off the airship. So
are you talking about Are you talking about the Nintendo Power Strategy Guide?
Yeah, the one that exclusively focuses on Final Fantasy.
Yeah, hold on.
Just Final Fantasy. It covers the entire game, literally.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me link this on. Let me link this on here.
Remember, right? It's chapter 4.
Is this the one you're talking about?
Wait to pull it up. I'm watching it on screen. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, there's a delay on the.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I never read this one, to be honest with you, but I wish
look for chapter 4 on that.
I wish I could find a scan of this. I don't know if anybody can find I wish I could find a scan of this because I want to check it out.
Hold on, let me try to find it.
Because there are some people that are selling this online, and they're probably gonna sell it for like fucking like hundreds of dollars and shit, you know. And I'm not gonna pay that money to look at that shit. I mean, I just wish someone would scan that. You know what I mean?
I'm looking for it.
But another while you're doing that, I want to explain a little one of the first. Oh, you found it? Link that in the theater workshop. Yeah. So while you do that, there's something I want to explain about one of the first in the game, because actually in this first game it began a tradition of one of the traditions that Final Fantasy has been doing this for every game, and one of the first ones was it was basically the first game with the super boss in it.
I think I gave you the link.
Oh,
are you talking about the super secret bosses?
Yep. Because believe it or not,
I think it was like, what's it called, War Machine?
it was the War Mech. Well, hold on. Yeah, it was like I said, the very first game had super bosses, and like I said, you basically fought a War Mech, and it was a rare encounter. So, hold on a second.
Yeah, it was like at the bridge before you fight the wind elemental, Tiamat.
Before you fought Tiamat,
Just weird, because in actual mythology, Tiamat was actually a water dragon, a sea dragon to be exact.
Yeah, but
that for that air theme was kind of, well, it's Japan. Japan always messes up with Western lore.
Yeah, that's the original super boss, the War Mech.
Oh, it's glory.
Oh,
you have to fight that.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, it's an optional super boss though, but still.
Beat that, and you could beat the game.
Yeah, because I think he only had one attack, and that was like what some sort of nuke.
Ow,
nuke?
the HP was that low?
Hold on a second. I'll hold on. I think I can. Hold on a second.
I did beat Final Fantasy, but that was through the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy Anniversary Collection.
Yeah,
and of course I got the GBA game.
It's 1,000 hit points, but you have to consider this. The final boss Chaos had 2,000 hit points.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the HP heroes, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You don't see these numbers in a Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm. And the problem here is he has the ability he has that could probably wipe out your party is a ability called Atomize or Nuclear in the original version.
Oh yeah.
Which could pretty much annihilate your party, and every round it regenerates 5% of its hit points. Every round, it's still, and even in the remakes. Oh yeah,
this game did not fuck around.
Oh no! Now, originally it didn't drop shit.
Was been over Dragon Quest? It spanked its little ass.
Oh yeah. But the problem was with that boss, you didn't get shit when you beat him. It wasn't until like I would say the GBA where you'll get something if you beat him. The Game Boy Advance version, you finally get something when you beat him. It's the Genji armor.
In the GBA game, War Mech ain't the only tough boss.
Oh no.
Oh no, you gotta go in the water, the secret water dungeon to get to that.
Yeah, that's what I like about the Game Boy Advance remakes is because they expand on a few things. They spiced up the game a little, added content.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know what? I'm not gonna bitch about added content. Makes the game fresh.
Especially when it's good content.
It is
it's
good
for
content.
Additional dungeons.
Yeah, definitely. You probably get.
The only one that improved on that is PS port.
Oh yeah, the PSP version of it. Yeah.
Had the 4 elemental dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5th one at the Temple of Chaos. Yeah, there's a 5th dungeon.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the Pixel remakes they don't have all the extra shit. I think the idea was they want to go back to the original design. But do check out some of the remakes because I think they did an exceptional job on that thing.
Did you click on the link I gave you?
Yeah, I did, but the text the thing was small as fuck. I can't even read it.
I thought you could like stretch it out a bit. Zoom in.
Well, but still, we got.
But tell me, did that ship look like it's made of wood?
Not really.
That looked like it was made of metal.
Yeah, really. But then again, a lot of the Western adaptations of Final Fantasy back in the day were, let's just say, a little weird. Gaming in general. I mean, have you ever seen some of the box art with some of the early Mega Man games? Jesus.
You need to talk about Angry Kirby.
Oh God. But back in the day, let's just say they were still playing catch up. All right. But speaking of playing catch up, let's talk about the ones. We're going to talk about the ones that didn't make it onto U.S. shores until well after its release. Hold on a second, because there's a box.
Talk about Final Fantasy 2 and then 3.
Yeah, I think there's a box art that I want to share with you, which I will. Okay, that image is too goddamn small. Because there was they were planning on releasing 2 here in the States. Yeah, fun fact. But here's the hold on.
We're like, oh, the Super Nintendo's out. We can't bring it out now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess that's the best image I'm gonna come up with here. Okay, you know what? Fuck. Okay, so when we talk about Final Fantasy 2, this is exactly what I'm talking about right here. This is the box art for if the game was supposed to be released here in the States.
What the fuck? Oh, yeah. Book and sword.
Yeah, and there is and there was a subtitle to the there was sort of a subtext to the game. They were going to call it the they were to call it. Hold on, I'm still trying to figure it out. I think it was something called the Dark Shadow of Palakia. Right? Well, the original plan was they're going to call it the Dark Shadow of Palakia. Dark Shadow over Palakia.
Okay, but back to my question. This was supposed to be the American version.
Yep. They were going to translate it.
What does the Japanese version look like?
All right, hold on. Because hold on, oh, I can find the box art for this. Yeah, because like I said, you have to keep it.
Japanese got to be better than this.
Oh yeah, because
I mean, at least the Final Fantasy American cover art actually looked cool. Like you got this orb of a floating city. And you got this axe and the sword underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder what the hell is going on.
Okay, I'll show you. This is the Japanese cover. It has Furion with his sword drawn.
Oh snap!
Yeah, and keep in mind, that little word mark that they've used, that didn't come till 4. So that's what they were using for their word mark. And to be honest, I can't even read that shit, to be honest. That's probably why they changed it over back in 91.
Yeah, like I said, these were the experimental days.
Yeah. And
that's so much better than the sword on top of the book. Who puts a sword on top of a book?
Keep in mind, this was Western box art. That's basically.
Well, I'm still gonna ask why.
Well,
I think that's the blood sword.
Well, I had a feeling that that it's also the reason why the first Earthbound game, in which was on the NES actually, was never released because they're all getting ready for the Super NES, which was coming out in 91. Keep in mind, the first Final Fantasy game, we didn't get it till 1990. So imagine that they released this shit like in 91 or something, you know? But they figured, okay, we're not gonna be able to get these Final Fantasy games out there, and if we release this game and then the other game and then 4 on fucking Super NES, it's gonna cause a lot of confusion. And when it came to Final, we'll talk about that later. But this game, I would say, a lot of people give this game a lot of shit because of its leveling system.
It was a weird leveling system. It threw people off.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you brought forth Final Fantasy 1, which was pure Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And then you bring out this game, which is basically Skyrim. It's Skyrim. It's Elder Scrolls.
I would say it's more. I say this game was more actually a precursor to the Saga series, to be honest.
Well, I'm going with the principle of the more actions you do, like the more
actions you do, the powerful it gets.
The better you get with it.
Yeah. And
because that's the gimmick with the Elder Scrolls series is the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they basically used an Elder Scrolls like leveling system, and it wasn't just your stats. It was your spells. It was your health, your hit points. It was your MP.
It was everything.
Every aspect of your character acted on that aspect, and it was easily exploitable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my friend Bob, I'll call him. He basically went the unarmed route.
Mm-hmm.
Wiped out the entire game just using fists.
Didn't buy any equipment or nothing, huh?
He's like, fuck weapons. I got my fists. He's a big Dragon Ball Z fan. He loves fighting games.
I see.
He'd be the one that in Final Fantasy 1 he'll pick nothing but fighters.
So his entire party was monks, right?
Basically.
Oh boy. I wonder how
he played Godbound once. You know what he played as?
He played as a monk, did he?
Not as a monk, but as a street fighter.
Oh. Now,
he loves fighting games.
Oh yeah. Oh. Well, weird leveling mechanics aside, the progression of the game was pretty fucking interesting. Because you had to use like passwords and shit. Because when you talk to certain characters, you have to.
I played it before.
Yeah, you have to use like passwords, like in some cases when you talk to certain people, you're going through all your fucking passwords, right? Half of them were like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, right? But then of course to prevent stress,
you get the right one, and it's like, oh, info dump.
Yep. And maybe they'll give you another fucking password as well. Now I like that. I like that aspect. It was sort of like,
Yeah, they should have kept that.
I mean, it was. It felt more trial and error type deal. But you know what? And there was a lot of things you could possibly do in later games. Like you could do like branching fucking in quests and shit. You know, but could be a way to get side quests and shit. But this is what I like to call the experimental their experimental game. I mean, it still sold well, but I bet you a lot of the feedback back in Japan was like, huh? Nani?
There were some good ideas of Final Fantasy 2. The only drawback was the weird ass level system.
Yeah. Now look again. Luckily, they salvaged that system for the Saga series, and believe me, they fine tuned the fuck out of it. It was a lot better for it.
Well, I will say this: at least it had today's standards, it'd probably be a boring, but they at least had a fucking good villain.
Oh, Marius, Emperor Marius, yes.
Yeah. He basically world dictator trying to conquer the world.
Criminally underrated victim, in my opinion. Although he is the villain was pretty one-dimensional as you can get, but
he's the one you actually killed, and he came back from hell.
Yeah, basically it's like this: you're going up against the Palametian Empire, in which the Emperor Marius, well, this guy's fucking crazy. I mean, he's not Kefka crazy, but he's right up there. He basically had a god complex. He wanted to dominate everything. But what happened was, it got to a point where he summoned a fucking tornado to try to take you out.
Clone.
But at that battle, you take him, you kill him. But unfortunately, he takes over hell and decides to come back. And decides to come back to the mortal realm and try to take over that and pretty much rule over that. And in the remakes, he tried to take over heaven as well. Let's say this guy was a bit war wacky. He just wanted to conquer everything. Hell,
I consider him lawful evil. I mean, not lawful evil. I mean, neutral evil. He's neutral evil. He wants to take over everything, and he'll do it by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not Kafka. Kafka's chaotic evil.
Yeah, but but like I said, this guy was just, his ambitions were pretty much was to stand out. But again, one-dimensional villain. But this game also had a few firsts.
First they introduced Chocobos.
Yeah, this is the first game that had Chocobos in it. And it was more of an Easter egg, if anything.
This game actually tried to separate itself from D&D.
Yeah.
Because let's not joke. Final Fantasy 1, for all its glory, is D&D.
Yeah, it was D&D the game. Basically, I'm surprised TSR didn't sue.
They didn't use any of their stats. They didn't use any of their classes.
Yeah.
Let's face it, the White Mage, aka the Cleric, he's all about healing and not about the combat, which is different from the Dungeons and Dragons Cleric, which is all about the combat and the healing and get the fuck out of here, ghosts. Turn on dead.
Yeah.
Now, yes, the White Mage could tell the ghost to get the fuck out of here with its day spells.
With with Dia spells, I think they folded that in with cure spells to get rid of undead. But
Eventually they did. But I'm just saying.
Yeah,
melee combat to melee combat, you think the White Mage was going to defeat a Cleric?
Nope. Probably probably
special use sword in the final dungeon.
Yeah, you know, the cleric would probably use the Final Fantasy white mage as a football.
Pretty much.
Kick that shit.
Godzilla is a thing in D&D.
But anyway,
in Druid were the top classes because they can not only cast up to 9 level spells, not only can they wear armor and actually use spells while wearing armor, but they got a whole ton of weapons to use.
Yeah, clerics are fucking OP. But we're getting off the rails here again. But there's also a couple firsts. I think this game had its first incarnation of Sid. Hey, how you doing, man?
Yo.
Yeah, we're just in time. We were talking about Final Fantasy 2, and we just talked about the wheeled battle system and the premiere of the Chocobos, and basically saying how clerics can basically use white mages as field goals.
Oh, yeah, I now remember. This is the first game that introduced the bombs and the bombs.
The bombs bombs was in the first game, by the way, but they're Sid. It's the first incarnation of Sid, and the spell Ultima.
The bombs were actually in Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah, I think they were.
The funny thing about 2 is that 2 had now obviously anybody who insists on playing 2, you're better off playing one of the remakes than trying to play a translated version of the original.
Oh yeah. I talk about the GBA.
Whether it be I have a fondness for the PSP version.
See, I never had a PSP, so.
Well, I did, but I think
there's a way for me to fix that.
Yeah, I think the reason you say that is because the original version of 2, it was buggy as a motherfucker.
I consider 2 to be a case of two things. One, you look at a lot of NES franchises, and they are very much a case of throwing things at the wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
Some more than others. I mean, you have the fact that Simon's Quest was trying to go for more of an adventure game approach instead of something more linear, which was going to be difficult to do on the Famicom hardware.
Mm-hmm.
You have the actual Mario 2 repeatedly kicking me in the dick.
Oh yeah, that's why they make.
Are you talking about Lost Levels, or are you talking about the American version?
Lost Levels. There's a
the Poison Mushroom Doom.
There's a reason why they made Doki Doki Panic into the second Mario game here in the States. It's mostly because the original one, it was two things. It was too similar to the first game, and that game kicked you in the dick over and over and over again.
Because of the fact that a lot of people are only familiar with the Lost Levels versions, I think a lot of people underestimate how evil the poison mushroom was.
Yeah, because
in the SNES version, it is obvious you're not supposed to touch it. It doesn't look anything like a normal mushroom.
Yes.
In the NES, it was only slightly darker.
It's like, hey, my mushroom, and all of a sudden, shit, I died.
Oh shit, for real?
So the
Nintendo version was definitely harder than the Super Nintendo remake.
Because let's just put it this way, they turned the first mushroom into a beginner's trap.
There's a term that some of you may have seen me use on my channel called hand braking.
Yeah.
Coops is bragging. He's like, please, I beat that game twice.
Oh, I know people who play Kaizo levels. That doesn't change the fact that it was still deemed too hard for a post-crash audience.
Oh yeah.
Gotta keep in mind this was still the early years after the video game crash of the 80s.
Yeah.
Rocking the boat with something that hard would not be a good idea.
Yeah. So
they did the smart route with what they did for our American version.
They had to. And it was a better game for it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why the frog?
But we're getting off the
skin that for the
getting back on the rails.
Sorry.
Rails.
The reason why the key thing is when it comes to all of these, and I'd say the exception to this particular theming would be Super C, which was just the original Contra but more. Is the fact that a lot of them decide to go very experimental with their two, and a lot of those experiments don't pan out in the long run.
Oh no.
Dragon Quest II and Final Fantasy II very much are kind of a case of interesting opposites. Dragon Quest II was the last in that was trying to still have some of the DNA of a PC style approach. You may recall that I prefer the term console style and PC style versus JRPG and WRPG.
Yeah.
The first two Dragon Quest games very much had a PC mindset in their design, just heavily simplified. It wasn't until 3 that this series kind of established the identity that it did. In that same vein, a lot of the stuff with Final Fantasy II is stuff that would be considered commonplace very quickly in the PC RPG market. Things, especially things like leveling up attributes based on your actions. That's something that the entire Elder Scrolls series has done all the way since Arena.
Snow mentioned it was that leveling system was basically Elder Scrolls. But like I said, the
principle of the more you do something, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, and funny enough, this game, unlike Dragon Quest II, this game didn't kick you in the dick repeately.
No, it didn't. But there is one, because of the fact that everyone was focused on how easy it was to cheese Final Fantasy II. There is one aspect that it had that I think has gone underappreciated.
Yeah, and before you get into that,
are you about to mention the password system?
We already talked about that, but here's the thing: if you do play Dragon Quest II,
I was questioning Mildred about that.
Yeah, but before we get that, there is one thing I would say: if you're ever gonna try out Dragon Quest II, I have 3 words that will give you nightmares. Cave to Renderrock!
Yeah, no.
Otherwise known as Cave to Roan. But
when it comes to this whole thing of twos throwing shit at the wall, the best example of this is of course Zelda 2, even if Death Mountain is permanently in the Book of Grudges.
Still having nightmares about that maze, huh?
Yes, I know. If you had Nintendo Power, that maze wasn't that big of a deal, but I didn't.
I didn't have Nintendo Power either, and I figured it out.
Even putting aside that, there's still the fact that the diaries are bullshit. But getting back to FF2, yes, I'm specifically bringing up the keyword system.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Which isn't something that's been used a whole lot since. I think a couple. I think the most recent game I can think of that used something like that keyword system has been the two recent Pathfinder PC RPGs.
Yeah.
That being Kingmaker and Wrath of the Righteous. Before that, the only one I could think of is Wild Arms 3.
Yeah. Now, and there was a lot of as I said before, there was a lot of potential they could have used. They could have kept that for future games. Like it could open side quests, etc. But yeah, I thought this overall, this is definitely the black sheep of the series. But if you want to check it out and you don't want to kick yourself in the head trying to figure out the system, well,
for a black sheep, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, but if you want to check out the game and you don't want to kick yourself in the head about it, well, there's a guy on YouTube who that's been around for a long time. I think most of you've heard of him. H.C. Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. I think he did a replay of Final Fantasy II recently. I think it was like a version that was fit. They translated, but they did a lot of other shit. They fixed a lot of the bugs or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a playthrough on that using basically going over a fine-tooth comb with the system and using it to the best of his ability. And it was such a great playthrough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do think. But given it is kind of amusing that a lot of the things that would later become traditions in the series, really started with 2.
Oh yeah, Chocobos, Sid, fucking the Ultima spell, which you have to level that shit up. It would, when you first get it, it was like, wait a minute, this is the ultimate spell. It's shit.
Mm-hmm.
You level it.
There's of course the obvious fact that this would be the first time that they tried to use an MP system, because I'd imagine the whole leveling through actions thing would be very problematic with the old Vancian model.
Yeah, there was something I forgot to mention about the first game. You didn't have MP.
For a fact, the GBA version pretty much abandoned the old model and went for MP.
It went for
Final
MP.
Fantasy 1.
It went for the MP model in later remakes, but in the original versions, you didn't have MP. You had spell charges, just like yeah,
pretty much. And I've anybody who's seen my rants over the years knows that I have never been a fan of that system. At best,
Dojo.
I have tolerated it.
Yeah.
Dojo, I have good news for you. In my D&D games that I'm trying to make, it's all MP or energy points. There is no Viacon magic system.
Yes.
Viacon? What the hell are you talking about?
You mean Vancian?
Vancian, whatever.
Look, it's called that because it draws notes from the Dying Earth books by Jack Vance.
Yeah.
Well, point I'm making is, it's not Vancian magic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but anyway, is there anything else before we move on? Because I
do think now a lot of people have made this comparison, and I do think it is somewhat warranted and also somewhat not. There's been a lot of talk about Final Fantasy II drawing heavy inspiration from Star Wars Episode 4.
I do not see that. I mean, the only comparison that you get was pretty much
I can see that
Rebels
with Final
versus
Fantasy 12.
Rebels versus Empire, and the princess being Leia. That's pretty much the only comparison.
given the fact, I would say that a lot of do I believe that Sakaguchi took inspiration from some aspects of Star Wars with it. With this, yes, but let's keep in mind that from day one, Final Fantasy has been a hodgepodge of different inspirations. The original is basically a kit bash of Dragon Quest and Ultima.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this entry was definitely the most experimental of the series.
Yeah, like I said, it was the Nintendo era. And people were always doing experiments.
Well, there wasn't nobody had a formula in terms of what you were supposed to do.
Right. Which is why they experiment, because they needed that formula.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go ahead and move. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the third game. Oh God damn it! Hold on. Here we go.
Were they actually trying to port that over the USA like they were trying to do with Final Fantasy 2?
They couldn't because at the time, because keep in mind this game came out in I forgot to say, Final Fantasy 2 came out in '88, which is the following year from '87. But like I said, they were gonna release it here in the States, but the Super Nintendo was coming out, so they've abandoned the ship. It was basically the same. They did the same thing with the original Earthbound.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's awesome.
And considering that this came out in '90, and they had to translate that the Super Nintendo version was coming out the next year, I would say if they're going to release the second one in '91, this probably would have come out around the same time Zoda's Revenge came out. So they said, we can't do it. But in my opinion, though,
as I look at that cover,
and then it's a shame too, because Final Fantasy 3 was actually the best of the Nintendo game, of the original NES games, in my opinion.
I would disagree with that. I prefer Final Fantasy 1.
I would say
it's definitely a solid second.
You know how I said Dragon Quest 3 was the first entry where it kind of solidified its identity?
Yeah.
I'd say that applies when it comes to FF3 for similar and different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the first game that introduced the job system, actually.
We already had we kind of already
Oh
had,
yeah, the first one had this,
but in terms of the idea of job switching, the way that we're familiar with, that's where it ended up here. What I do find funny is that it seemed that one of the mandates was to put in as many jobs as physically possible, and I think it's very telling that a lot of the jobs that were put in didn't last past 3.
Oh yeah, like for instance, hold on, let me get the job.
I have to agree with that, because the more jobs you put in, the less good the jobs are, because now you're just reaching out for unique ideas, like, how can this be useful?
Yeah.
How can this be actually any good?
Well, when's the last time you saw the Viking job?
No, yeah.
But there's a reason why people just stick with the 6th core, which is...
Yeah, you don't see the Onion Knight job at all, do you? It's like, what the fuck is an Onion Knight?
The closest equivalent I could say to seeing it would be the Onion Knight appearing in Dissidia.
Yeah.
And even that's a stretch, because that's part of a trinity when it comes to that game.
Isn't Onion Knight basically a freelancer?
Yeah, it was
in the remakes, yes.
In the remakes, they replaced with freelancer. It became sort of a separate class, or like the fool class, if you will. It was sort of a secret class in the remake. But I want to to distinguish this. We're not talking about the remake here because the remake, in some ways, is a much different game and it's a lot fucking harder.
It depends on what remake you're talking about, because
I'm assuming you're talking about the DS version.
The DS version, not the Pixel remake. The Pixel remake is basically a carbon copy of the original NES, almost a carbon copy of the original NES version. But here,
I have to admit, I like the DS version better.
yeah, it fleshed out the story a lot better. You didn't have like generic characters in the original one, but again, the gameplay was hard as balls. It didn't matter how many times you fucking leveled up to 99. You're still in some way gonna get your ass kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So with the job system, its one weakness is there is such a thing as having too many jobs.
Oh yeah, I think they overdid it with this game, because let's count the classes. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Jesus Christ. You had about 25 fucking jobs in this game.
Let's not forget that some of the jobs ended up getting shuffled. Like, say, in the original you got the thief from the fire crystal, whereas in the DS version you got it from the wind crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure, and those of you who have seen a project that I've been working on for the last few months may roll your eyes about the whole too many jobs thing, considering that I did the 4 crystal thing where we have over 50 job tracks.
Jesus Christ.
But in that particular
job tracks, can you please elaborate on that?
Well, look at it. Hold on, but look at it this way. I got to get this in. Look at it this way. At least you're creating jobs, unlike certain people in Washington. But anyway,
I've been working. Zan and myself have been working on a project that we're calling FF Legend,
mm-hmm.
and the approach that we're taking is using the Legend system as a template to create a Final Fantasy style TRPG.
Mm-hmm.
It is not meant to emulate a specific entry in the series, but act as close to a universal template as we can muster.
So basically, you're basically taking the idea of Streets of Rage remake, basically combining all the decent aspects into one sort of original system. Am I?
Yeah. That would be a close approximation. And it's for that reason that I'm casting with a wide net, especially since Legend has a very unique method of multi-classing.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? Final Fantasy 11, actually.
I'm not exactly doing that. I'm not exactly doing that route, but in Legend system, every class was composed of 3 tracks. These were a series of 7 class features that you would get up on leveling up, and these would be assigned to a slow, fast, and medium track.
Mm-hmm.
All that multi-classing was in that regard is swapping tracks. In the approach that we're doing, we only technically have 4 classes: warrior, expert, mage, and adept. Those four classes have a series of jobs, job tracks associated with them. Our jobs are those individual tracks.
So
it starts off with those, and then it branches out.
In layman terms, say I went with mage and I went with white mage.
That's one track.
And I finish off that track.
No,
What next?
it's
Do I-
you're doing three tracks, one slow, one medium, one fast. The speed determines how quickly you're going to gain the circle abilities for those tracks by leveling up.
Okay, so if I want to be like a paladin, I go with a warrior, go with night track.
You just go with a paladin track. And you'd have to pick two other tracks.
Yeah. But
They could be of any other class, or they have to be specifically warrior class.
You need to when you pick a class, whether it be warrior, expert, mage, or adept. Adept being our designation for a lot of the hybrid archetypes.
mm-hmm.
You need to have at least one that's in that class.
Yeah.
You can triple dip into that class's tracks. You can go 2 and 1, or you can go 1 and 2. There's also a handful of independent tracks for archetypes that didn't fit the other 4. But the key reason that I'm bringing that up here is the structure within 3 was you would always unlock more jobs each time you ended up encountering one of the crystals.
Yeah.
We just took it in the sense that those 4 classes that we mentioned are each associated with one of the 4 crystals.
Yeah. Now, the funny, but of course, if anybody's played the NES version and probably the Pixel Remaster, is once you get Ninja and Sage, all of a sudden, okay, all the other jobs out the fucking window.
Oh, the funny thing about that is, I guess Square is aware of the fact that those 2 jobs are
OP.
are FF3 on easy mode because in Onion Knight's appearance in Dissidia, you're going to be frequently switching between the Onion Knight, which is a balance, the melee focus, which is the ninja, and the magic focus, which is the sage.
Yeah.
So I like to think of that as a tongue-in-cheek awareness of how OP that thing was.
Yeah, but in the DS remake, they nerfed the fuck out of it. They figured, oh wait a minute, I think they figured, okay, they think once they get Ninja and Sage, it'll be game over. Nope, they nerfed the fuck out of that shit in the DS version.
Did they nerf that in the GBA?
There was no GBA version of 3. The closest you got was that Wonder Swan.
Yeah, I forgot about that. My bad.
But how many people you know in the U.S. who actually owned a Wonder Swan?
Probably a couple hobbyists at best.
Yeah.
But
I was thinking that was in the GBA.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
because 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 got ported to the GBA.
Yeah,
and I think those were just rejiggered versions of the Wonder Swan ports.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the world, because the world's very interesting in Final Fantasy 3, because when you start off on like a floating island basically, and the rest of the world all of a sudden, well. Ever seen Waterworld?
You're right. It does look like shit.
I hardly ever played Final Fantasy 3, so this is like.
Well, you haven't played 3?
I played it. It just I haven't got far in it.
Oh, you didn't get past that point yet. Well, let me tell you.
I didn't leave the first continent.
Well, let me tell you about that. You start off on a floating continent, okay? But the second half of the game, after you get the fiery crystal, and get the airship, you realize the entire world is under fucking water. Save for a water temple, which I think you had to rescue like a mermaid or something, which unfortunately she gets killed. But once you restore the water crystal, all of a sudden the entire world gets revealed. Now, I think, in my opinion, out of all the world maps in the series, I think this was the best done, because it gave you the idea of like two separate continents. It's two separate worlds basically. You get like and the second world is pretty fucking diverse as it goes, because later on you get like other airships like the Nautilus, and then you get the fucking Invincible, that fucking big ass battleship. I mean, I thought this game was freaking it had the best world design of any of the Famicom, the NES games.
Sort of like Dungeon Quest 7. I mean, Dragon Quest 7.
Dragon Quest 7, yeah. But
because all its continents were flooded except for one.
Mm-hmm.
And you slowly, piecemeal by piecemeal, you make the rest of the continents reappear.
Yeah. Well, basically the second world basically reappears all at once. But when you first get there, it was flooded except for two things: that temple and the top of the crystal tower. And the crystal tower, if any of you've played Final Fantasy XIV, that's where it came from.
Mildred left.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's gone. Oh. Anyway.
So either something happened to him, which I doubt it.
Yeah, but getting back to
got things to do.
Yeah, that's true. But getting back to what I was saying, but
man,
yeah. But getting back to what I was saying about the world, I mean, but the plot was interesting though, because at first it was just about collecting crystals. Then it turns out that it was a conflict between three gods. You meet two of them, but the third god, going by Zandi. Thing is, I think their man. I don't know who was it, their master or something like that, or something like that. But the first two was given ultimate cosmic powers or some shit, and Zande was granted mortality, and it was considered quote unquote the greatest of the three gifts. But Zande felt like he got the short end of the stick, so he wanted to fuck over everybody because of that.
Shit, you're looking at immortality versus mortality. Yeah. One day, son, you will grow old and wrinkly, and you can't control your pooping.
Yeah, and
yeah, I'd be pissed off too. I've been looking like, what about these two? Oh, they'll be young and beautiful for the rest of their existence, which is forever.
Well, in Dorga and Un's case, they weren't young or beautiful. But basically, okay, I think the story's right here. It says,
back.
Yeah, but
and I am back.
Well, so anyway, I'm reading off the story here from their wiki here. He was originally one of the great Magus Noah's students, along with Doga and Une. It was while Noah bestowed Doga and Une with great magical powers, but gave Zande a much stranger gift, the gift of mortality. Zande was driven mad by the thought of dying, and in a blind rage, he sought to disrupt the balance of light and darkness by draining the crystals of their power. By doing so, the world would be flooded in darkness and time would freeze. Thus, he would have to no longer fear death. So basically, Zande went on a fucking spurged out like a motherfucker.
Well, can you blame him?
Yeah, but of course Noah said they were giving him the greatest gift. It was a strange gift or some shit like that, but for some reason it freaked him out. I mean, he wasn't really evil. He was just a bit misguided. He felt like he got shafted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna die. That counts as a shafting.
Yeah. So, but the thing about Zande's little gambit, it actually led to something a lot worse. The Cloud of Darkness.
Which I'd say it is kind of funny that even after two sequels, and because of the fact that FF3 is kind of them going back to the well, this is them going back to a motif that's been a stickler for the series for years since, that being the big bad's plans end up unleashing something worse.
Yeah, we called the trope sealed evil in a can.
Mm-hmm.
And
in the original, you had the whole relationship between Garland and Chaos.
Yeah, and by the way,
yeah, we talked about that with the Final Fantasy 1 discussion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one, the Cloud of Darkness. Well, she shows up like at the 11th hour, basically. It's sort
as odd as it sounds. I honestly think the best rendition of the Cloud of Darkness is the rendition in Dissidia. Largely because that version actually feels like a character.
Yeah, but this one was sort of like some sort of. It was sort of like a celestial, etc. Like for instance, I think the equivalent would be one of the I forgot what they were called in Warcraft, but they were the primal gods, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You were dealing with a fucking primordial.
What?
And this wouldn't be the last time that you'd that this is a bit of a bad habit that as cheap as it might be to poke fun at Square for this kind of thing. This is a bad habit that a lot of writers have of this kind of sealed evil in the canon. Thus the final boss is something that you haven't had enough proper build up for.
Mm-hmm. I think the reason they do this though is because they had no. They wrote themselves. I think they wrote themselves into a corner with Xande, because it's like, okay, this guy's mortal. How could he become like some sort of cosmic threat that will serve as the game's final boss? Because in the first one, you had Garland become Chaos and basically giving the party hell. You also in the second game had Marius becoming the goddamn devil, and then it made sense. So with Xande, it's like, okay, how can we make him superpowered? Then they realize, like, wait a minute, there's no conceivable way we can do that. So they'd be like, fuck it, throw in a primordial at the end.
Basically, in the pursuit of freeing himself from his mortality, he unleashes something. It kills him.
Yeah.
And when it comes, I'd say if there was one thing that I wish the DS version actually addressed, which unfortunately it didn't, it is the return of something that I already mentioned I wasn't a fan of, and that's the Vancian model.
Oh yeah,
Incidentally-
they did use the Vancia model in the third game.
They claimed that it was MP, but if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it ain't a goose. It's still spell charges.
Oh yeah, because I forgot they used the fucking Vancia model in the NES game.
I get the feeling this was a case of three was them trying to pull themselves back from as much experimenting as they had done with 2.
Yeah.
So bringing back that instead of a spell point system would be a natural chain of events.
Yeah.
I don't like that chain of events, but it is something that is understandable.
I think this is like the last time they did it.
Yeah, this is the last time they did it.
If you want to, when it comes to the idea of charges, if you want to get really technical, like really anal retentive about it, it could be argued that 8 was the last time they did it.
Oh yeah, the draw system. Ugh.
They had a crappy magic system.
Oh god, it was easily exploitable.
That's why I said if you want to be really pedantic about it. But
Yeah.
I do think it's very telling that the only games that really utilize that system these days are games that are trying to directly emulate or are using a related IP to the D20 system.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Structed MP.
Well, anyway,
Or-
yeah, go ahead, because
I don't want to make a gritty game, but still,
well,
it comes from points.
yeah, definitely, man. But anyway, I want to go into the latter three games to talk about, but unfortunately, we're about to hit the 2-hour mark in this stream here. So, what do you think? You want to do this again at the end of October? Talk about the last 3 games.
There's a lot more to say when it comes to the SNES era.
Oh yeah,
And that does bring me to one question era.
yeah.
One question era. Are you going to be covering the Game Boy games?
No.
Okay. Second question. Are you going to be covering the one spin-off?
Mystic Quest.
That's my guilty pleasure. I wouldn't mind talking about that.
You know what? We'll throw it in. We'll throw it in when we talk about the SNES
I
stuff.
bet you guys don't like it, but
I didn't say I did.
I thought it was all right. It had issues, but I thought it was all right.
I want if we end up doing that at the end of October, I can't promise that I'd be able to make it, but I'll certainly give an attempt.
You'll give the old college try, huh? Well, anyway.
But yeah, there's no way we can stuff in any part of the SNES era into tonight without going crazy long, like Wrestle Kingdom long.
Oh yeah.
Well, if we're gonna do this, like do the other 6 at the end of this month, I think at the end of November, we should talk about the PlayStations.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll do
like Final Fantasy 7, 8,
7,
and 9.
7. Yeah, might as well. So, but anyway,
December we could just talk about Final Fantasy 10.
Oh God. Well, so anyway, so I think
I actually like 10. Just
gameplay wise,
it becomes better.
Gameplay wise, gameplay wise, it's good, but we'll talk about that some other time. But we'll save that discussion for another time. So henceforth, we're gonna go ahead and do the let's go ahead and close out the show here.
I just got one question.
What's up?
What's going to be the big major topic of next week?
Well, next week I'm not going to have a show because next week I'm going to be on Mildred's Sports Ball stream because we're going to talk about the NHL.
All right.
Yep.
So
Hey, Mildred, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Can I get a link to your server?
I thought you already had one.
No. Yeah, I was with Aaron when he left, so I left with him.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that. But anyway, but next week I will not be setting up the tent because I am going to be on Mildred's the Minute Stare Sports Ball stream, talking about the NHL and certain teams from Toronto getting beat by Zamboni drivers. Yep, I will not stop talking about that when it comes to the Leafs.
Well, I'll definitely try to watch that.
Yeah. So
Which channel is that on YouTube?
it's gonna be on I think it's gonna be on Mildred the Monk's channel. I think you can probably link it to him. Can you?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Oh, I got the channel.
Yeah. So anyway, with that.
That's solely RPG channel.
Okay. So anyway, so with that said, I thank you, Snowman, for coming aboard. Thank you, Mildred, for coming by. And I'd like to thank all of you watching the stream, be it watching the stream or watching a video, for coming into the tent with me this week. And if you enjoyed this program, I ask you, please like, please subscribe, please ring that bell and spread the word about this. Come on, we gotta get this shit going here. And also, I'm thinking about on Monday I might try out something out on Odyssey, doing a video game stream. But we'll keep your ear to the ground. I got all weekend. But anyway, until we once again set up the tent, God bless you. Take care of yourself, and hey, it's a nasty world we're living in, so please be careful out there. Mad Shogun out!